Hello, my fellow handicappers. This is Weekend Handicapper. In this video, I'm going to provide picks and analysis for the 2022 Kentucky Derby 148. I'm going to briefly go over the entire 20-horse field, and at the very end, I'll give you my picks and how I'm going to bet the 2022 Kentucky Derby. In full disclosure, I've been keeping track of how I have done betting the Kentucky Derby, probably the most famous horse race on the face of the earth. And since 2003, I've been right 6 out of 18 times. So what is that, like 33.3%, somewhere around there? However, I would have been right 50% of the time, 9 out of 18 of the 18 past Derbies, had I bet on California Chrome, American Pharoah, and Justify. Me being the handicapper, the bettor that I am, who's always trying to bet against the favorites, I tried to beat those horses and took a loss each and every time. 2 of those 3 ended up becoming Triple Crown winners. Now, the past few years have been pretty good. I had Authentic a couple years ago, and last year I had Mandaloon and Essential Quality were my Derby picks. You could check out the videos on my previous Derby picks if you want. On this channel. So, of course, Medina Spirit won the 2021 Kentucky Derby and all the drama that followed that race. So eventually, a year later, I was right about that pick. But horse racing being what it is, you didn't get paid for it if you had the right horse that eventually got put up into the winning spot. So that's how it is. You got to turn the page and move on. Take comfort in knowing that you picked the Kentucky Derby winning horse, even though it's by default, essentially. All right, let's get to this year's Kentucky Derby field. Number 1, Moe Donald. Really like this horse all Kentucky prep season long. I think this is a super talented horse that won't have a problem going the distance of 1.25 miles. It's trained by Todd Pletcher, and Todd I trust. One of those 6 Derby winners that I've been right on was Super Saver back in 2009, I think, or 2010, I believe. So when Super Saver won. And Todd's won it again. Hopefully he'll win it again with this horse, number 1, Moe Donald. Now, the problem with this horse, and I was a little disappointed, have to be honest, I didn't want any of my horses that I think is going to win draw the number 1 post. Now, with this new Kentucky Derby starting gate, it's been around a few years, I think. It's not as bad as it used to be. Used to, back in the day, if you drew the 1 hole, you were pretty much screwed the whole race because you're going to get pinched in. You're not going to have time to get in front of all that other traffic that's going to come towards the rail. You're going to get pinched, essentially. Well, with this new starting gate, I think it allows a little bit more room and a little bit more fairness for those horses that draw the number 1 post. So I think Moe Donald has a lot of talent. I like the odds 10-1. Another knock on Moe Donald that I'm concerned about is this horse's running style. It's a closer. It's going to come off the pace, or it does its best running off the pace. Typically in Kentucky Derby, winners come from either on the lead or right off the lead. Here lately with Medina Spirit, Authentic, it's basically been catch me if you can, get out to the early lead and hang on for the victory. So you always want to kind of prefer horses that are near the front of the pace, near the front of the lead. Moe Donald's not that kind of horse. So with a 20-horse field, he's got to get lucky. The jockey's got to time it right. And you got to get a little luck on your side and get through all that traffic, or that wall of traffic, in order to prevail. But number 1, Moe Donald certainly has a shot. It's got a great jockey on it, a Rad Ortiz Jr. And so that's definitely a contender. Number 2, Happy Jack. Not sold on Happy Jack. I'm going to look elsewhere. Number 3, Epicenter. It's probably going to be your post-time favorite, even though Zandon is the morning line favorite. I don't agree with that. I think Epicenter is going to be eventually your morning time favorite. This horse has been racing at fairgrounds And I think the fairgrounds had some really good horse talent down there, really good competition. This is a really good horse. If it rains, which it might on Derby Day, you might have a chance of an off track. I think it's 30% chance of rain the last time I looked. So that's a plus. This is the horse to beat, no doubt. Even though it's not the morning line favorite, I think it's going to be post-time favorite. It's going to be the horse to beat, and it might give Steve Asmussen, who's the nation's, or Asmussen, the nation's leading horse trainer of all time, thoroughbred horse trainer of all time, his first Kentucky Derby victory. Summer is tomorrow. I'm not going to bet it tomorrow or first Saturday in May anytime. That horse has to prove something to me. So I'm going to definitely look elsewhere. Number 5, Smile Happy. This has been an interesting horse following along to it. It's fairly competitive in every race that it runs. I wouldn't fault you if you used it in your trifectas or superfectas, but I'm not sure that's a win contender in my book. Number 6, Messier for sure. This is trained by Tim. I don't even know Tim's name. Yakteen. Forgive me, Tim. But wouldn't it be interesting if Bob Baffert horses, so if you only tune in to horse racing a few times a year, especially Kentucky Derby time, you always recognize Bob Baffert. You know, he's been, good or bad, the face of racing for a long, long time. And since his controversy, since the Churchill Downs ruling, he transferred a couple of his horses, his Derby contenders, to another trainer. And that other trainer is supposedly training these horses. People could discuss whether or not that's true or not, who's training what, if Bob's still behind the scenes pulling the strings. But Messier's a good horse. Definitely think this horse has a shot. And if Bob is still pulling the strings behind the scenes, we all know that what he can do. And wouldn't that be an interesting story if one of his former horses, quote unquote, former horses, that's now trained by Tim Yakteen, wins the Derby the year after he was disqualified. And he would have had essentially 3 years in a row of Kentucky Derby winners. So yeah, Messier for sure is a contender. Number 7, Crown Pride. This is an interesting horse only because it seems like the Japanese horses, they have been showing up big time on a big stage. This horse ran over there in Maidan in the Middle East, there in Dubai. This horse certainly can be sneaky. Don't sleep on the Japanese horse because they've been showing up here lately, and they could really get a piece of your Kentucky Derby wagers, especially in your exotic tickets. Number 8, Charge It at 20-1, another horse that's trained by Todd Pletcher. If it is for some reason a wet track, this horse might like it. Whether or not that's enough to give you enough confidence to bet this horse to try to beat these other horses, I'm not sure. But it's probably going to be out near the front of the pace, which is good. So at 20-1, if you like this horse, hey, take a flyer on it. But I think there's more talented horses other than Charge It in this race. And so we will continue. Number 9, Tiz the Bomb. Now, Tiz the Bomb, what you want to think about and evaluate with Tiz the Bomb at 30-1 is, what is this horse's preferred track surface? Here's what I mean. It's raced on synthetic the past 2 times, won both of those times in stakes races, performs very well on synthetic tracks. It's raced 3 times on the turf, with winning twice and coming in second once. So that is a good surface for Tiz the Bomb. Can this horse run on the dirt? Well, it's ran on a fast track twice and it's finished 7th both of those times. And then on an off track or off the turf 1 time and it's won. The thing with Tiz the Bomb is, how well will this horse handle the fast track or the off track on the dirt surface? Even though it's a small sample size, it came in 7th both of those times. Now we're going against some good quality field here. I would say pass on Tiz the Bomb as far as a win bet. If you want to include it in your trifectas, superfectas, then by all means, please do. Number 10, Zandon. Zandon, another horse I've really liked. Seems like this horse can, even though it's a closer and probably going to be closing in, seems like it can be, it's a versatile horse for Chad Brown, trainer Chad Brown, who's looking for his first Derby winner. But this horse keeps improving. Seems like it's getting better and better with every start. Won the Bluegrass in a pretty impressive fashion. It's got that kick. Now, again, this running style might, especially if this horse hangs back too far, you got to rely on a good jockey to time it right. And Flavian Prat is a good jockey, one of the probably top 5 in the nation right now. So I'd be confident in the jockey. I'd be confident in the trainer. The running styles got me a little concerned, but it's going to be a factor. I don't agree with this horse being the morning line favorite of the Kentucky Derby at 3-1, but I think this horse is a legitimate horse, should get the distance, and it's just a matter of how the pace will set up for it, and can he beat other good horses like Moe Donald and Epicenter. But definitely number 10, Zandon, is a contender, which is part of the reason other people think so too, because that is the morning line favorite of the 2022 Kentucky Derby. Number 11, Pioneer of Medina. Now, Pioneer of Medina is a consistent horse. It's got a good running style for the Kentucky Derby. If it's for some reason an off track, it should handle the off track fairly well. It's raced at fairgrounds. As I've said before in my previous video about key races, y'all can check that out about the Risen Star Stakes. Coming from the fairgrounds, I think, is an advantage for this year's Kentucky Derby contenders. I think number 11, especially at 30-1, Pioneer of Medina, should be included in exactas, trifectas, superfectas. I don't think it could win the Kentucky Derby. It really has to step up big time in order to do that. But definitely a horse at good odds that should be used in your exotic wagers. Number 12, Taba. This horse has been getting all kinds of buzz, it seems. It's firing triple-digit speed figures in its 2 starts. The one knock on him is it's only had 2 starts. It's undefeated. It's trained by, quote-unquote, Tim Yaktine. Whether or not Bob Baffert's sitting back still calling the shots on this, who knows? But I'm going to, when I handicap these horses from Tim Yaktine, I'm going to assume they're still Bob Baffert's horses, and Bob Baffert's horses bring it on Kentucky Derby Day. And if for some reason Bob Baffert is still calling the shots, you know he's fired up and wants some revenge on the evil empire called Churchill Downs or CDI. So you know he's probably going to try to get his horses geared up for these races, especially after being banned from Churchill Downs and being disqualified from last year's Kentucky Derby, his horse, Medina Spirit. But if you just look at the horse and its performances, even though it's got 2 starts, this horse is a serious contender. Whether or not it can handle the distance, let's see. But give this horse a serious look, because who knows? Yeah, it's only got 2 starts, but it could keep improving. If it keeps improving by leaps and bounds, like it's done from its first start to its second start, then at 12-1, at a good post, the 12th post position, good running style for the Kentucky Derby. Good bet, I think. Good bet, worth a gamble at those odds, because you don't want to be witnessing a superstar and being like, man, Well, I did not see that coming. All I had to do was look at two running lines, two races in his history, the only two that he's got where he's done well. Now, what competition did he beat? How many horses did he beat? You evaluate all that. Enough said. Number 12, Taba, for sure a contender. Number 13, Simplification. This is another sneaky horse. You always got these sneaky horses. You got these wise guy, so-called wise guy horses. Simplification is one of those horses. Got a good running style for the Kentucky Derby. If it's a wet track, should handle that. Okay, it's always seems like it's pretty consistent. And this horse has been running down in Florida at Gulfstream Park, and where it won the Fountain of Youth. And it's always competitive. It's just whether or not this horse could get the distance and can hang with these other horses on the front end. Definitely a contender to use in your exotic wagers. I think this is a good, consistent horse. And when I play exactas, superfectas, trifectas, that's what I kind of look for. Horses that are always consistent, always in the money. Seems like number 13, Simplification, brings it each and every time. Number 14, Barber Road. Long shot, 30-1. It's had some trouble traffic problems. When a horse has trouble traffic problems in the Kentucky Derby, sometimes I think they're prone, because they're not disciplined horses, they're prone to traffic trouble. And if the Kentucky Derby historically has always, because simple fact of 20 horses in a field, is prone to traffic problems. So I'm going to bet against Barber Road, thinking he might run into even more traffic. And even if he didn't, I don't know if it's good enough to beat these other horses like Epicenter, Moe Donald, Zandon, Taba, those sorts of horses. So no go for me on Barber Road, but if you're playing the trouble trip angle and you can excuse some of his past races, then at 30-1, I don't blame you. You could take a flyer if you want, take a shot. Number 15, White Barrio. Pretty horse that I enjoyed watching down in Gulfstream Park. Got a great running style for the Kentucky Derby. It could keep improving. It's pretty much has an excellent record. I think it's almost undefeated. Only time it didn't win a race was coming in third. But this is your Florida Derby winner. Historically, the Florida Derby winner has done really well in the Kentucky Derby. So certainly a contender at 15-1. Not one of my top picks, but I wouldn't be shocked if number 15, White Barrio, ends up winning the Kentucky Derby, but I'm going to bet elsewhere. Number 16, Cyberknife. 20-1 for Brad Cox. This horse won the Arkansas Derby, and I just don't know. He's got the right running style, but the speed figure's a little low. He's going to have to take a big step up, I think, to compete with these horses. Usually in the past, the Arkansas Derby, Oaklawn Park has some really good horses that transfer in to the Kentucky Derby, do really well in the Kentucky Derby. So Smarty Jones comes to mind, of course. But the thing with, well, another positive with Oaklawn Park is I think the track surface is very comparable to Churchill Downs, meaning horses that run well at Oaklawn Park typically run pretty well at Churchill Downs. Is that enough to put Cyberknife in the winner's circle? I'm not quite sure. I just don't think it has the speed, even though the running style is the preferred one. I don't know if it can hang for that long with these other horses. Number 17, Classic Causeway is back in the picture. From Tampa Bay Derby fame, Classic Causeway. This horse is the lone speed. Now, whether or not it can fend off the other speed that's going to sit right behind the number 17 Classic Causeway, I doubt it. I think just like in other races that Classic Causeway has had, it might get out to the front, then fade, and the other ones sitting off the pace or closers are going to overtake Classic Causeway. So at 30-1, all you need is a couple good angles that you believe in to bet a horse like Classic Causeway, but I'm not. Number 18, Tawny Port. Tawny Port has been rolling here lately. Trained by Brad Cox, who won last year's Kentucky Derby a year after the fact. But needless to say, it's a really good trainer. You got to be careful to try to beat Brad Cox. Now, whether or not this horse can win the Kentucky Derby, I don't know. 30-1, it's worth a shot. But I think it's overmatched here as far as win contender. I do like this horse underneath because it is a consistent horse. So use them in your exactas, trifectas, superfectas maybe. But it performed really well in the Grade 3 Lexington last time out where it won. And did really well at Turfway Park in the Jeff Ruby Stakes behind Tiz the Bomb, who's also in this race. But that was on the synthetic surface. Is Tawny Port peaking at the right moment? Looked pretty impressive last time at Keeneland. So at 30-1, I wouldn't be mad at you if you tried to put a couple bucks on Tawny Port. But for me, it's going to go underneath in trifectas, superfectas. Number 19, Zozos. Zozos at 20-1. So this horse is consistent. This horse seems like it always brings it. Seems like it's getting better with every start. Speed figures going up, even though at Fairgrounds in the Louisiana Derby, it came in second to a horse named Epicenter, which is number 3 here in our 2022 Derby, and probably the post-time favorite. So you can't fault a horse for losing to Epicenter. Been facing really good competition down there in Louisiana. It's trained by Brad Cox, who, as I just said, is a wonderful trainer, one of the top trainers in the nation now. So a lot of factors, positive factors for number 19, Zozo. So if you're looking for a long shot, the post position might be a little iffy because it's got to use that early speed advantage or try to position himself to get to that early speed across from all these other horses that are going to be coming out of the starting gate in the middle of the field. So that might take a lot out of number 19 Zozos for a mile and a quarter. But it's a consistent horse. Definitely, I'm going to use it in trifectas and superfectas. And number 20, Ethereal Road, got in the Derby at 30-1. I'm going to leave that one off any of my tickets. I don't see it happening. There's, of course, it could be a storybook ending, horse that gets into the Kentucky Derby. But there was probably a reason the horse was on the outside looking in to get in the Kentucky Derby field. And that's just didn't have enough points and probably wasn't as good as these other ones. So how am I going to bet the 2022 Kentucky Derby 148? Now in this video, I'm just going to give you my win plays and my exacta tickets. In a future video, be on the lookout for my Superfecta tickets. The Superfecta, I always try to make it a point, is the bet that is on my bucket list. My great white whale, my Mount Everest of handicapping. If I can figure out and have a winning ticket on the Kentucky Derby Superfecta, then to me, that's a crowning achievement of my handicapping that I do. So how am I going to bet to win? How am I going to bet exactas in the 2022 Kentucky Derby? Now, I might be kicking myself. I might be Captain Obvious, rethinking, well, like, why in the world? What made you do this? And here's what I'm talking about. Typically, the winner of the Kentucky Derby is near the front of the field, the 20-horse field. Either on the front end, usually more often than on the very front end, like Lone Speed, the horse is right off the pace. But the two horses that I like the most and have liked the most all this Kentucky Derby prep season are the number 1 Moe Donald and the number 10, Zandon. Now, I'm disappointed in the morning line on Zandon. Can't believe he's the morning line favorite of the Kentucky Derby. But I think both of those horses, Moe Donald, the number 1 horse, and number 10 horse, are good horses that can get the distance. But the negative, the thing that I'm probably going to be kicking myself is the running style. There seem to be closers that come from off the pace, and you got to get a lot of luck in terms of traffic, a good trip, as they call it in horse racing, and you got to hope that the jockey times it right. And that's rolling the dice in horse racing, unless you got some Zenyatta. But even the great Zenyatta got beat. Now, I love Mike Smith. Barely missed beating Blame in the Breeders' Cup Classic that one year. And it comes down to timing, right? So you got to roll the dice if you're betting closers. I much prefer to have horses I prefer on the front end or right off the front of the pace, because you'll have a better shot at winning, I think, which is certainly why Epicenter is the most likely winner of the Kentucky Derby. But is that the horse I'm going to bet? No. As far as win bets go, I'm going with number 1, Moe Donald, and number 10, Zandon. I also like that Taba. Wouldn't be shocked if number 12, Taba, wins, and I wouldn't be shocked if number 6, Messier, wins. But as far as what I'm betting, win bet wise, the number 1, number 10. Now, exactas. If you have an opinion in the Kentucky Derby, back it up as much as possible. So I'm going to do an exacta box. For those that are new to horse racing, exacta box is essentially if you have, let's say, 2 horses, in my case, the number 1 and number 10, they have to finish first or second in either order. So it could finish 10-1 or 1 and 10. So I'm going to have an exacta box on the 1 and 10, which again scares the crap out of me because I don't think there's that much speed for these closers to close in on. But I don't want to kick myself for not sticking with the horses that I've liked all this time. Also going to do a part exacta wheel, exacta part wheel. So that's going to be the number 1 horse, the number 10 horse, over the 1, 3, 6, and 10. So that's the 1 and 10 has to finish first, and underneath, come in second, has to be the 1, 3, 6, 10, and 12. Now you might say, hey, well, didn't you play the 110 in your exacta box? Yeah, but I'm doing another ticket because if I'm right, I want to be right multiple times. That way I have a winning exacta multiple times. Now, what happens if my hunch is right? Historically, early speed wins and the closers don't win, but they factor in exactas. Well, that's why I'm going to do another exacta part wheel with the 1 and 10, my top choices, coming in second. So what I'm going to do in that case is I'm not going to feel bad if the number 3 Epicenter beats me. I'm not going to feel bad if another horse that I think has an excellent chance, number 6 Messier, beats me. And I'm not going to feel bad if the number 12 Taba keeps improving, even though it's a young horse, keeps improving. I won't feel bad if those 3 horses win the Kentucky Derby, even though I'll lose a win wager. I won't feel bad if they win as long as I have my horses. I was sort of right that my horses were a contender, the number 1 and 10 underneath or in second. When somebody says underneath, if you're brand new to horse racing and handicapping, if you have a horse underneath, that means you had it in second or third or fourth if you play trifectas and superfectas. So that part wheel is called an exacta part wheel, 3, 6, 12 over the 1 and the 10. So I'm going to have a series of different tickets with different combinations. Best case scenario is if the number 10 wins, the number 1 wins, and the number 10 comes in second, or I should say, or the number 10 comes in second, or the number 1 comes in second. That way I have a win wager on one of my top horses, top picks, I'll be right in the exacta, so I'll cash the win wager, cash the exacta ticket. But as a backup, because I certainly think this is possible, because my running styles of my two top picks, the 1 and 10, doesn't suit traditionally, historically, the Kentucky Derby well at all. So if history is an indicator of how this race is going to run, the 2022 Kentucky Derby, then I want to be at least have a ticket that covers myself for that different scenario. So the number 3, the number 6, number 12 have to win with the 1 and 10 coming in second. So those are my top picks of this year's Kentucky Derby, the 2022 Kentucky Derby. Those are some exacta tickets that I'm going to play. Again, look for another video about the Superfecta tickets. Also, check out my video about if it rains, who should you bet if it rains at Churchill Downs. But those are just my tickets. That's my opinions. The beauty of handicapping and betting on horses is we all can have different opinions, and yours is just as good as anybody else's. If you look, and whether it's, I don't want to call out any networks or any shows, these so-called experts, there's some of them, they got a job to do, but it makes me kind of smile and snicker that experts sometimes don't have a winning record. So you're just as good. If you learn how to handicap and back your opinions, you could be just as good as anybody else on any given day. Handicapping is a skill. Betting is a skill, and you'll get better at it the more you do it, smartly, of course. But the beauty of Kentucky Derby Day is if you have an opinion, you're going to get good odds. And there's no better bragging rights. There's no better thrill than winning the Kentucky Derby. So hopefully I'm right this year. And hopefully these tickets will cash. Some of these tickets will cash. And I can enjoy one of the greatest sporting events that we have here in the United States. So if you like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button and notification bell if you hadn't already. I would love to hear who you like in the 148th running of the Kentucky Derby. Are you going with the logical choices like Epicenter or Zandon? Or are you going to swing for the fences and choose a long shot? Leave them in the comments below. Like I said, hit that like button. And if you want the latest tips, tools, and resources to help you make money betting on horses, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. Good luck to you and happy Derby.